The Call. On a distant planet, far from Earth, lived an alien named Zyra. Her home was a beautiful place, once filled with vibrant colors and lively creatures. But now it was changing. The skies were darkening, and the plants were wilting. Zyra felt a deep sadness in her heart. She was one of the few left who still believed in hope. Zyra was a member of the Lumari, a race known for their glowing skin and bright minds. They had lived in harmony with their planet for centuries. However, their world was suffering from a terrible disease. The great trees that once provided food and shelter were dying. The rivers that flowed with crystal-clear water had turned muddy and foul. The Lumari were losing their way of life, and many of them had given up. Every day, Zyra watched her friends and family struggle. They wandered around, looking for answers that seemed to vanish like mist. The elders spoke of ancient stories where help came from the stars. But as days turned into months, no one listened. Zyra knew she had to do something. She could not just sit and watch her people fade away. One night, while exploring the ruins of an old city, Zyra stumbled upon a hidden chamber. Inside, she found a dusty, ancient device. It was shaped like a crystal orb, sparkling faintly in the dark. Zyra wiped the dust away and felt a surge of energy. This device could send messages across the universe. Excitement bubbled inside her. This could be her chance. Zyra carefully activated the device. It hummed to life, glowing brighter with each moment. She took a deep breath, her heart racing. "Hello, is anyone out there?" She called into the void. "I need help. My people are suffering. We are in despair." Her voice echoed into the darkness, reaching out into the vastness of space. After sending her message, Zyra waited. Days turned into weeks, and hope began to slip away. Was anyone even listening? She often gazed at the stars, wishing for a sign. One evening, as she sat by a dying tree, she felt a faint pulse from the device. A spark of hope ignited within her. Suddenly, the device lit up, and a voice filled the air. "Hello, who is this?" The voice was warm and filled with curiosity. Zyra's heart raced with joy. "I am Zyra. I am from the planet Lyra. Please, can you help us?" The voice replied, introducing itself as Ethan. He was a human from a distant world called Earth. He had received her message and was eager to learn more about her situation. As they spoke, Zyra felt a connection growing between them. Ethan was kind and listened to her every word. For the first time in a long while, she felt hope blooming in her heart. Zyra and Ethan shared stories about their lives, their worlds, and their dreams. They discussed the problems facing her planet and the possibilities for saving it. Zyra realized she was not alone anymore. Across the vastness of space, a human had heard her call and was willing to help. As they ended their conversation, Zyra felt a new fire inside her. She had reached out, and someone had answered. Now they would work together to save her people and bring life back to Lyra. With determination in her heart, Zyra knew the journey had just begun. The response. Ethan sat in his small lab, surrounded by books and gadgets. He had always been fascinated by the stars and the possibility of life beyond Earth. When he first heard Zyra's voice, he could hardly believe it. An alien, a real one. He felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. This was a moment he had dreamed about for years. As he listened to Zyra's story, Ethan's heart ached for her and her people. They were suffering on a distant planet, and she was reaching out for help. He could hear the sadness in her voice, the weight of despair pressing down on her. He thought about how easy it was to take life for granted on Earth, surrounded by nature's beauty. But for Zyra, her world was dying. After their first conversation, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about Zyra. He spent every free moment researching ways to help her. He knew that he was just a scientist, not a hero. But he felt a strong pull to do something. He wanted to make a difference, not just for Zyra, but for her entire race. Ethan decided to write down everything he learned about plants, water, and energy. He compiled data on Earth's best farming techniques, renewable energy, and ways to clean polluted water. He hoped that these ideas might help Zira's people find a way to heal their planet. Late one night, as he worked on his research, Ethan received another message from Zira. "Ethan, can you hear me?" Her voice crackled through the device, bringing a smile to his face. "I have been thinking about what you said. Can you tell me more about Earth and your ways of life?" Ethan felt a wave of happiness. "Of course, Zira. I'll tell you everything I can," he replied, eager to share. He spent hours describing Earth, the forests, oceans, and mountains. He told her about the animals, the seasons, and how people work together to protect the environment. He explained how humans learned from their mistakes and found ways to fix them. As they spoke, Ethan noticed Zira's excitement growing. She asked many questions, her curiosity shining through. "How do you grow food?" she wanted to know. "What do you do when the land is damaged?" Her question showed her determination to save her planet. Days turned into weeks, and their friendship deepened. Each conversation brought new ideas and hope. Ethan felt like he was part of something bigger than himself. He had a mission now, to help Zira and her people. However, not everyone in Ethan's world believed him. When he shared his story with colleagues, they laughed at the idea of talking to an alien. "It's impossible," they said. But Ethan stood firm, feeling a strong connection to Zira. He knew she was real, and he would do anything to help her. One evening, after a long day of research, Ethan sat in front of the communication device. He took a deep breath and said, "Zira, I want to come to your planet. I want to help you in person." There was a pause on the other end. Ethan's heart raced. Would she think he was crazy? Finally, Zira replied, "Ethan, that would be amazing. But how will you get here?" Ethan smiled, feeling the surge of determination. "We will find a way together." With that promise, a new chapter began for both of them. They would unite their strengths, and the journey to save Zira's world was about to take a bold step forward. The first meeting. The day had finally come. Ethan stood in front of the shimmering portal, his heart pounding in his chest. He felt a mix of excitement and fear. He had never traveled across the stars before. The portal was a swirling mass of colors, bright and inviting. It looked like a dream, and he was about to step into it. "Are you ready?" Zira's voice echoed through the device, bringing him back to reality. She had been guiding him through the process, her tone filled with encouragement. "This will be a journey unlike any other." "Yes, I'm ready," Ethan replied, his voice steadying. He took a deep breath and stepped into the portal. A wave of energy rushed around him, pulling him through the fabric of space. Colors whirled around him like a cosmic dance. For a moment, he felt weightless, free from all worries. Suddenly, Ethan landed softly on solid ground. He looked around, amazed. He was on Zira's planet. The sky was a bright lavender, filled with two suns shining down. The air was fresh and sweet, unlike anything he had ever breathed. He could see strange, beautiful plants all around him, some glowing softly in the light. Zira appeared before him, her skin shimmering like starlight. She was just as he had imagined, with bright eyes filled with hope. "Ethan," she exclaimed, a smile lighting up her face. "You made it." Ethan couldn't help but smile back. "I'm here. It's beautiful." He took a moment to admire the surroundings. The landscape was filled with colorful flowers and tall, waving grasses. In the distance, he could see mountains that sparkled like crystals. Zira nodded, her expression filled with pride. "This is my home, but it is suffering. We need to work together to bring it back to life." Ethan felt a sense of purpose wash over him. "Yes, I want to help. Where do we start?" Zira led him deeper into the land, showing him the damage caused by the disease that plagued her world. They walked past trees that once stood tall, now wilted and weak. The rivers were muddy, and the ground was dry. Ethan's heart ached for Zira and her people. This was once a thriving place, Zyra said, her voice soft. Our people lived in harmony with nature. But now, everything is changing, and I fear we may not survive much longer. Ethan felt a strong desire to change this. We can find a way, he said firmly. Back on Earth, we have learned how to heal damaged lands. Maybe we can try those methods here. Zura's eyes sparkled with hope. That's a great idea, but we will need the support of my people. They must believe in us. Ethan nodded. Let's show them that we can make a difference. As they walked, they discussed plans. Zara explained the unique plants that grew on her planet, and Ethan shared stories about Earth's successful reforestation projects. They were learning from each other, combining their knowledge in exciting ways. Just then, a group of Zura's friends approached them. They looked curious but cautious. Ethan felt nervous. This was his chance to prove himself. Zura stepped forward, her voice strong. Everyone, this is Ethan. He has traveled from another world to help us. The group stared at Ethan, unsure. He took a deep breath and introduced himself. I want to help your planet. Together, we can bring it back to life. Slowly, one of the Lumeri stepped forward. You believe in our home? She asked, her voice filled with hope. Yes, Ethan replied earnestly. I believe in all of you. Let's work together. As the group began to discuss their ideas, Ethan felt a spark of excitement. He had taken the first step, and together, they could make a difference. Zura smiled at him, and for the first time, he felt truly connected to another world. The journey ahead would be challenging, but they were ready to face it together. The plan. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over Zyra's planet, Ethan and Zira gathered with her friends under a large ancient tree. Its branches stretched wide, a symbol of strength and resilience. The Lumeri had come to listen to Ethan's ideas, and their curiosity filled the air. Ethan felt a mix of excitement and nerves. He knew this was an important moment. Thank you all for coming, he began, looking at the faces around him. I want to help your planet recover, and together, we can create a plan. Zira stood beside him, her eyes shining with hope. Ethan has knowledge from Earth that can help us heal our land. We can learn from each other. Ethan opened his notebook, filled with drawings and notes about Earth's successful restoration projects. In my world, we faced similar problems. When our land was damaged, we used a method called reforestation. It means planting new trees and plants to help the environment recover. The Lumeri listened closely, some nodding with interest. Ethan continued, we also use natural fertilizers to enrich the soil and help plants grow. I believe we can do the same here. One Lumeri named Kira raised her hand. But where will we find the seeds? Many of our plants are gone, and the soil is too weak. Ethan smiled. I have an idea. If we can gather seeds from the remaining healthy plants, we can start there. We can also create a greenhouse to protect the young plants as they grow. Zira clapped her hands together. That's brilliant. We can use the old ruins to build the greenhouse. It will be safe from the harsh weather. Ethan felt the energy in the group growing. Next, we need to clean the rivers. If we can remove the pollution, the water will be clear again. We can build barriers to filter the dirty water and make it safe for plants and creatures. Another Lumari, named Rin, spoke up. We can work together to collect materials and build these barriers. Our people are strong and can do this. Ethan nodded, feeling hopeful. Yes, the more hands we have, the faster we can make a difference. We will need to educate everyone about why this is important. If they understand the plan, they will want to help. Zira took a deep breath. I can talk to the elders and share your ideas. They may be worried at first, but with the right information, they will see the hope. Ethan felt a rush of gratitude for Zira. Thank you, Zira. With your help, we can reach everyone. As they discussed more details, the excitement grew. They talked about creating a community event to bring everyone together, where they could explain the plan and show how they could help. Ethan suggested games and activities to make it fun and engaging. Kira smiled. We can teach our children the importance of taking care of the land. This will be a lesson for the future. As the night grew darker, they finalized their plan. They would start by collecting seeds and cleaning the rivers. The Lumeri felt a renewed sense of purpose. For the first time in a long while, they had hope. Ethan looked around at his new friends. They were ready to fight for their home, and he felt proud to stand with them. He knew this was just the beginning of their journey, but together they could achieve great things. As they prepared to leave, Zyra turned to Ethan and smiled. Thank you for believing in us, Ethan. Together, we will bring life back to Lyra. Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility, but also the joy of friendship. Together, we will succeed. The stars above twinkled brightly, shining down on the beginning of their new adventure. The journey begins. The morning sun rose over Zyra's planet, bathing the landscape in a golden light. Ethan stood at the edge of the clearing, feeling the excitement buzz in the air. Today was the day they would begin their important work. He looked around at the Lumeri, who had gathered with determination on their faces. They were ready to take action. Zyra approached Ethan, her glowing skin shimmering in the sunlight. Are you ready for the first step? She asked, her eyes bright with anticipation. Yes, I can't wait to get started, Ethan replied, a grin spreading across his face. They had talked about the plan all night, and now it was time to put it into action. The first task was to gather seeds from the remaining healthy plants. The group split into smaller teams, each with a specific area to explore. Ethan joined Zyra, Kira, and Rin as they ventured deeper into the lush parts of the forest. The air was fresh, filled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling energized by the beauty around him. As they walked, Zyra pointed out various plants. This one is called Voira. It grows fast and can provide shade for younger plants. She gently touched the delicate leaves, her face lighting up with pride. Ethan knelt down to examine the plant closely. It's amazing. Let's collect some seeds from it. They carefully gathered the seeds, placing them into small containers. With each seed they collected, Ethan felt a growing sense of hope. After a few hours of searching, they filled their containers with seeds from different plants. The Lumeri's spirits were high as they celebrated their first success. We have enough seeds to start, Kira exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. Next, they moved to the river, where the water flowed sluggishly, thick with mud and debris. Ethan felt a pang of sadness seeing the pollution. This is where we need to focus next, he said, surveying the area. If we clean the water, it will help the plants and animals thrive. Zyra nodded, looking determined. Let's start by removing the larger debris. We can make a path for the water to flow more freely. The group rolled up their sleeves and got to work. They pulled out fallen branches, plastic scraps, and other garbage that had gathered in the river. It was hard work, and the sun beat down on them, but they worked together, sharing stories and laughter. As they labored, Ethan felt a sense of camaraderie grow among them. Everyone was focused on the same goal, and it felt good to be part of a team. They sang songs from Zyra's culture, their voices blending beautifully in the warm air. Hours passed, and the river began to change. Slowly, the water cleared, revealing its true color beneath the murky surface. Ethan could hardly believe his eyes. Look, it's working, he shouted, pointing to the glistening water. Zyra smiled widely, her face glowing with pride. We are making a difference. Just look at what we have done together. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, they gathered for a moment of reflection. Ethan looked around at his friends, their faces filled with joy and satisfaction. This is just the beginning, he said, feeling hopeful. We have planted seeds and cleaned the river. Together, we can heal this planet. Zyra placed her hand on Ethan's shoulder. Thank you for believing in us, Ethan. With your help, we have started a new chapter for the Lumeri. Ethan felt a warmth in his heart. He had traveled across the stars, and now he was part of something important. He had found a new family in Zyra and her people, and he was ready to do whatever it took to help them succeed. As night fell, the stars twinkled brightly above, guiding them into the future. They had taken their first steps toward healing, and together they would continue the journey, hand in hand, determined to bring life back to Lyra. A new world. As the days turned into weeks, Ethan and Zyra continued their work together. The Lumeri embraced their mission with energy and hope. They spent every day planting seeds, cleaning the rivers, and teaching each other about their worlds. With each passing moment, Ethan felt more at home on this alien planet. One morning, as the suns rose in the sky, Ethan awoke with excitement. Today, they planned to start building the greenhouse. It would protect the young plants as they grew and help restore life to the land. He quickly dressed and joined Zyra outside, where the Lumari were gathering tools and materials from the old ruins. "Good morning, Ethan," Zyra called out, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Are you ready for the next step?" "Absolutely. Let's get started," Ethan replied, his heart racing. They walked to the ruins, where crumbled walls stood tall, covered in vibrant green vines. The place was filled with history, and Ethan felt a sense of wonder. As they began to clear the area, he imagined how beautiful the greenhouse would be. It would be a place of life and growth. Zyra and Kira led the way, showing Ethan which materials they could use. "These old stones will make a strong foundation," Kira said, pointing to a pile of sturdy rocks. "And we can use the vines for support." Ethan nodded, impressed by their resourcefulness. "Let's work together to move these stones." They joined forces, lifting and carrying the heavy rocks. The Lumari were surprisingly strong, and their teamwork made the task easier. As they built the foundation, Ethan shared his ideas on how to structure the greenhouse. He suggested a dome shape to capture sunlight and keep the heat inside. "Light is life," he explained. "We need to give our plants the best chance to grow." Zyra listened closely, taking notes on everything he said. As they worked, Ethan noticed how the Lumeri started to trust him more. They began to ask questions about Earth's plants and how they thrived. He shared stories of his own garden back home, where he grew fruits and vegetables. "We can plant fruits here too," Zyra exclaimed. "It will bring our people fresh food." Ethan felt a surge of excitement. Yes, that will help everyone understand how important this work is. They will see the change and want to be part of it. The team worked tirelessly throughout the day, laughing and cheering each other on. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, they stepped back to admire their progress. The foundation was complete, and they had a vision of what was to come. "I can see it now," Ethan said, gazing at the stones arranged in a circle. "This will be a beautiful greenhouse." Zyra smiled, her face glowing with happiness. "And it will be a place of hope for our people." That evening, they held a gathering to celebrate their progress. The Lumari brought food and shared stories under the stars. They spoke of their dreams for a healthier world and how they could work together to achieve it. Ethan felt overwhelmed with gratitude. He had come to help, but he was receiving so much more in return: friendship, purpose, and a sense of belonging. As the stars twinkled above, Ethan realized that he was no longer just an outsider. He was part of this new world. The Lumari had welcomed him with open arms, and together they were creating a brighter future. Ethan looked at Zyra, who was laughing with her friends, and he felt a warmth in his heart. He knew their journey was far from over, but they had taken significant steps together. With hope and determination, they would continue to heal the planet, one seed at a time. In that moment, Ethan understood that this was not just a mission. It was a new beginning. A new world awaited them, filled with possibilities and dreams. Together, they would make it thrive. Facing challenges. As the weeks turned into a month, Ethan and the Lumari worked hard to build the greenhouse and revive the land. Their efforts began to bear fruit, literally. The seeds they had planted sprouted into young plants, reaching toward the twin suns. The river water slowly cleared, and small creatures began to return. Hope was blossoming all around them. But not everything was easy. One morning, Ethan woke up to find dark clouds gathering in the sky. A storm was brewing, and he could feel a sense of unease in the air. The Lumari had gathered for their daily work, and Ethan shared his concerns. "We need to make sure our plants are protected from the storm. It could wash away the soil and damage the greenhouse," he warned. Zira nodded, her expression serious. "You're right, Ethan. We should gather everyone to reinforce the greenhouse and protect the young plants." As the winds began to pick up, they quickly organized the Lumari into teams. Some went to the greenhouse to secure the structure with extra vines and stones, while others worked to cover the new plants with protective layers. The group moved swiftly, their determination shining through despite the rising winds. While they worked, Ethan noticed Kira struggling with a heavy stone. He rushed over to help her. "Let me give you a hand," he said, lifting the stone with her. "Thank you, Ethan. I just didn't expect the storm to come so quickly," she replied, glancing at the darkening sky. "I know, but we'll get through this together," he said, reassuring her. Just as they finished reinforcing the greenhouse, the first drops of rain fell from the sky. It quickly turned into a heavy downpour, and the winds howled around them. Ethan and the Lumari hurried back to the shelter of the greenhouse, hoping it would hold against the storm. Inside, they gathered around, feeling anxious. The storm raged outside, the winds rattling the structure. Ethan could see Zira looking worried. "What if the greenhouse collapses?" she asked, biting her lip. "We've done everything we could," Ethan replied, trying to stay calm. "We need to trust that our work will hold. We are stronger together." Suddenly, a loud crack of thunder shook the ground, and the lights inside the greenhouse flickered. The Lumari jumped, fear in their eyes, but Ethan stepped forward. "Let's sing," he suggested. "We can keep our spirits up." They began to sing a Lumari song, their voices rising above the sound of the storm. The melody was soothing, and slowly the tension in the room eased. They sang about strength and hope, reminding each other of the journey they were on. Hours passed, and finally the storm began to calm. The rain turned into a gentle drizzle, and the winds softened. Ethan looked around at his friends, who were smiling despite the challenges. "We made it," he cheered. "Let's check the greenhouse." As they stepped outside, they were relieved to see that the greenhouse stood strong. The young plants swayed gently in the wind, but they were safe. A cheer erupted from the group, their faces filled with joy. Zira hugged Ethan tightly. "Thank you for believing in us. We faced the storm together, and we are stronger for it." Ethan felt a swell of pride. They had overcome a real challenge, and it brought them closer. He understood that their journey would not always be easy. There would be more storms, both literal and figurative, but with teamwork and friendship, they could face anything. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the land, Ethan looked at the Lumari around him. They had created something beautiful together, and he knew that this was just the beginning. They were not just planting seeds in the ground. They were planting hope in their hearts. The challenges they faced would only make their bond stronger, and he felt ready for whatever came next. Together, they would thrive. The breakthrough. After the storm had passed, Ethan and the Lumari found themselves filled with renewed energy and determination. The skies were clear, and the sun shone brightly over the land. It was a new day, a fresh start, and they were ready to push forward in their mission to revive the planet. That morning, Ethan awoke early, eager to check on the greenhouse and the plants they had nurtured. As he walked over, he felt a sense of pride swell within him. The young plants had grown strong, and new leaves were sprouting everywhere. He could hardly believe how much progress they had made in such a short time. When he arrived at the greenhouse, he was greeted by Zira and Kira, who were already inside, tending to the plants. "Good morning, Ethan," Zira called out. her face beaming with excitement. "You won't believe it. Some of the seeds we planted are starting to bloom." Ethan hurried inside, his heart racing. He gazed at the vibrant flowers that had opened, their colors bright against the backdrop of the greenhouse. "This is amazing," he exclaimed, kneeling to get a closer look. "They're beautiful." "Yes, we're finally seeing the results of our hard work," Kira said, her voice filled with joy. "But there's more. We should start collecting the pollen from these flowers. It could help us grow even more plants." Ethan nodded eagerly. "That's a great idea. With the pollen, we can create new seeds and expand our garden even further." They began carefully collecting the pollen, placing it in small containers to keep it safe. As they worked, Ethan couldn't help but feel a sense of hope rising within him. It was clear that their efforts were paying off, but he also knew that they needed to reach more Lumari to make a real impact. He turned to Zira. "What if we host a big event? We can invite everyone to the greenhouse to see what we've accomplished. It will inspire them to join our cause." Zira's eyes sparkled with excitement. "That's a brilliant idea. We can show them how the plants are thriving. They will see the difference we can make together." The three of them quickly gathered the Lumari, sharing their plan with enthusiasm. Everyone was eager to participate, and soon they were busy preparing for the event. They planned games, songs, and demonstrations to showcase their hard work. As the day of the event approached, excitement buzzed through the air. On the chosen day, Lumari from all over the area came to the greenhouse, their faces filled with curiosity and hope. Ethan stood beside Zira at the entrance, welcoming everyone. "Thank you for coming," Zira said, her voice ringing out. "Today, we want to show you the beauty we are creating together." Ethan took a deep breath, feeling nervous but excited. He stepped forward. "We have planted seeds that are starting to grow. Together, we can heal our planet and bring life back to Lyra." As they entered the greenhouse, the Lumari gasped in amazement. The colorful blooms filled the space with a sweet fragrance, and the sight of the thriving plants brought smiles to their faces. Ethan and Zira led them through the rows of flowers, explaining each plant's importance. Kira demonstrated how to collect pollen, and soon everyone was participating. Laughter and chatter filled the air as they learned and shared ideas. For the first time, Ethan felt the energy of the Lumari shift. They were inspired, and he could see that they believed in the project. By the end of the day, many Lumari had expressed their desire to help. They signed up to join the efforts, bringing their families and friends along. Ethan felt tears of joy welling in his eyes. They had made a breakthrough, and the spark of hope was spreading like wildfire. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the greenhouse, Ethan realized that this was more than just a project. They were creating a movement, a community dedicated to healing their world. Together, they would not only revive Lyra, but also strengthen the bonds between their people. Ethan looked at Zyra, who was surrounded by smiling Lumari. They had faced challenges, but they had also found joy and purpose. He knew their journey was just beginning, and he felt ready for whatever came next. Together, they were changing the world, one seed at a time.